say some as we continue the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, edging near the end of this chapter. Namo Om Vishnu Bhattaya Krishna Vashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Shunyavhadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay, let's share the Bhagavad Gita for you in case you don't have it. Have it ready to go. Let's see what wonderful jewels we can find today. Okay, here comes the Bhagavad Gita on your screen. There it is. Hare Krishna. All right, let's just have a quick context reference. Anyone could tell us what the subject has been towards the end of this chapter? You can look in the Gita if you have it there, your own copy.
I'm just trying to think. Was it what happens if you don't finish what you're set out to do in bhakti?
Yes, basically correct. Yeah, that's it. That's the discussion.
Yeah.
Arjuna is inquisitive. You remember he gave the example, what the person who doesn't succeed in bhakti or doesn't succeed in yoga, are they like a riven cloud? So Krishna answers that question. And what's the essence of his answer to Arjuna's doubt?
Don't worry.
That's
whatever
it. Don't worry.
That's done, you'll be put in a good situation next time to continue.
Don't worry about a thing. Everything's going to be all right. Don't worry. Yeah, once you start on this path, everything is auspicious for you somehow or another. Yeah, even if you desist in this life, you have gained more than a materialist. Yeah, who loses everything at the time of death. But if for one reason or another you do not complete the process, you will continue from your next life. Yeah, and you'll be attracted to yogic principles naturally. And describe what's the destination of someone who falls after a short practice. They take birth.
Is it a family rich in knowledge or an aristocratic family?
Yeah, more aristocratic family. Let's just get it exactly here. Yeah, they take birth. Well, first, the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities. Remember we mentioned that they were still harboring some desires to enjoy this world. So those desires will be exhausted by going to the heavenly realms. Then after those desires have become exhausted, then they take birth within the earthly realm, within a family of righteous people or rich aristocracy. And we described a bit about that, what exactly that means and what it doesn't mean. So then after long practice, if one falls, which will be less, I would imagine, after long practice, but still it may happen. Where do they take birth? Hare Krishna, Mother Katarina. Welcome. Good to have you here again. Hare Krishna. Let's join it. Remember, they take birth, and Prabhupada gave himself as an example in his.
Yeah, a family of transcendentalists.
Yeah. And such a, yeah, and a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Prabhupada mentions in a case of Acharya or Goswami family, and he mentions his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who took birth as the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he mentions and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord. And both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. I really like that description, the transcendental system. All right, let's jump into text 45. Yeah, we left off at 44. There's 47 verses in this chapter. So someone like to read text 45?
I'll read it.
Yeah, go ahead. Short part.
Yeah. Prayatna yatamanas yogi samsuda kilbisa aneka janma samsidas tato yati paramgitim. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Translation. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A person born in a particularly righteous, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contaminations. When he is finally free from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed from all contamination. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesam tivanta katapapam janamam punya karmanam te dandra mohanirmula mukta punjante mam jridavrita. Next page.
Yeah, it's there.
Of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contaminations and from all illusory dualities, one becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So the attainment is very great. So sometimes it may take more than one lifetime. And we mentioned that, we gave a couple of examples. We've mentioned a few times. Bharat Maharaj. Yeah. But in one sense, it's relatively short. Even if it's 2 or 3 lifetimes, let's say, it takes to reach perfection. That's not so many compared to how long we have been in the material world. Yeah. Billions of lifetimes. Yeah. For billions of creations, we've been in this material world. So even if we don't make it in this life, we will just continue where we left off, as we've already said. And this is from Purijan Prabhu. He mentions here, to become successful, a yoga brashta, a yogi who has fallen from his practice, must work harder than the yogis who practice longer. All right, so someone who's fallen after short practice, they have their work cut out, actually, if they take birth or when they take birth again. And it mentions why, because something that we hinted upon as well in our previous discussions, because taking birth in a suchinam or a pious religious family, or in a rich mercantile royal family, one has still there is a chance that one can be deviated from the path. Compared to those who are born in a family of transcendentalists, those who fall after a longer practice, they're a bit more safely situated because they're born in, just children born in families of transcendentalists receive especially deep Krishna conscious in impressions and training early in their spiritual life. Yeah. So it's always a wonder for especially us who join Krishna consciousness in our youth or later, then it's always a fascination, isn't it, when we see the children of devotees who seem to be, at least definitely so, they are spontaneously attached to the principles of bhakti. Sometimes it may be seen, though, that some we've seen, practically speaking, some of our youth, sometimes when they get to teenage years, the power of the material energy sometimes overcomes them. But it's been seen, actually, that a lot of them eventually come back to a regulated Krishna conscious life after being burnt a little bit by the material world. Then they come back. It is seen, you know. Got any questions or comments on this? So it requires some determination. Yesam twantakatam papam, jnanam punyakamanam. Yeah. Tutavrataha. Anyone knows what the word tutavrataha is? Used a few times in Gita.
Dridvita, is it Dridvita?
Yeah, drid. Yeah, dridvrataha.
Yeah, so that's like determination, like
Yeah.
Yeah, with full determination. Drid, right? Really.
That's it. Tutavrata. Yeah.
Dridvita, yeah.
So although we speak about the wondrous nature of bhakti, that there's no loss or diminution, and you pick up from where you left off in your last life, we shouldn't forget that we do have to be determined. Even if one takes up from the next life, there is still danger because we're still in the material world. So, Jitta Vrataha, we have to be quite determined to actually reach the goal. Because there's a chance that we may become distracted. And you remember we spoke of an example of someone who is very determined. Remember we gave the example of Jad Bharat. After Maharaj Bharat came a Jad Bharat who was so determined that he made out he was dumb and mute and got treated in a very envious way, in a very unpleasant way by his brothers and got ridiculed in many ways. But he was a self-realized soul. He was absolutely determined. Chitta Vrata. He's not going to make the same mistake. He's not going to take any chances. Yeah, so he kept himself like a useless person. I think his father tried to instruct him in the principles of Brahminical life, for example, and the obvious one is that after using the bathroom, passing, then one should take full shower. But he would take full shower before and then not take it after. Much to the frustration of his father, who had great hopes for him to become duly married and become a Paka Brahmana. But Jad Bharat was having none of it, Trita Vrata. So we have to be determined, even though we may get a chance in the next life still, and there is a chance we may spend another few lifetimes. Yeah. Anything else on this one? And all right, we're edging towards the climax of this chapter. All right, so let's have some read text 46. The next two, 47 is quite a long purple with quite some commentaries as well. So we'll probably spend a bit of time on that. But let's read text 46.
Shall I read?
Yes, go ahead, Mavajkishore. Thank you. Oh,
Tapasvidhyodhiko yogi jnanibhyo matodhika karmibhyascha diko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Translation. A yogi is greater than ascetic, greater than empiricist, and greater than a fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Purport. When we speak of yoga, we refer to linking our consciousness with the supreme absolute truth. Such a process is named differently by various practitioners in terms of the particular methods adopted. When the linking process is predominantly in the fruitive activities, it is called karma yoga. When it is predominantly empirical, it is called jnana yoga. And when it is predominantly in the devotional service, devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness is the ultimate perfection of all yogas, as will be explained in the next verse. The Lord has confirmed herein the superiority of yoga, but he has not mentioned that it is better than Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is full spiritual knowledge, and therefore nothing can excel it. Asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. Empiric knowledge without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. And fruitive work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga performance mentioned here is Bhakti Yoga. And this is still more clearly explained in the next verse.
yeah. Okay, thank you. So any comments or questions here? Speaking of a hierarchy here, the highest being, as we'll see in the next verse, definitely is a bhakti yogi. Now in text, in chapter, just reading here from commentary from, again, Orijan, that in 428, the tapasvi was mentioned. So that's someone, what's a tapasvi? When we say tapasvi, what is it?
One who meditates.
It's one who does austerities, tapasvi, yeah? But they don't have knowledge. They're just doing austerities, but they're not endowed with transcendental knowledge. Now, higher than a tapasvi, well, that's what's been mentioned here. Higher than a tapasvi is a jnani. So he has knowledge about Shastra, but his realization ends. What's the realization of a jnani? The classical jnani, their goal is Brahman. It ends at Brahman realization. Yeah. Then I mentioned here also the fruitive worker. So they're known as karmis. Yeah. So these are all, they've all been mentioned previously in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, they've all been mentioned. Karma yogis, the karmis. So they may do things like digging wells, constructing roads and building charitable houses. And the hierarchy continues. Then one who knows the super soul is the most advanced. So this is looking at the yoga ladder. We meant this has come up before, the yoga ladder. And this is Prabhupada here. He says, just highlighting here, when a linking process is predominantly fruitive activities, it is karma yoga. Now, it's interesting to note because just if we just understand the word yoga, just translate it as bhakti. That's what yoga actually means. It means to link with Krishna. That's the definite, okay? But when it's predominantly one is attached to the fruits of one's work, which is dedicated to Krishna, but one is attached. It's called karma yoga. All right. Now, when it's predominantly focused on empirical knowledge. Yeah, so I think it's a different context here, but the word empirical here, I don't know if can you see the dictionary on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, by observation or experience rather than by theory or pure logic. But anyway, then rather than devotion, they're more interested in gaining knowledge. But it's called yoga because they have some connection to trying to understand the absolute. But they're trying to understand it through empirical knowledge. Now here, then when the relationship with the Supreme Lord is called bhakti, yeah, and when it is predominantly in devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called bhakti yoga. Yeah, so bhakti yoga is the culmination of all karma and all jnana. And it brings one to bhakti yoga. That's the highest of all. Yeah. And Prabhupada is here, he's speaking of it here. Asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. And empiric knowledge without surrender to the Lord is also imperfect. And fruitive work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Yeah. So we're on the right path, okay? We're on the right path. It also happens to be the easiest path, actually. Any other comments or questions here?
Prabhu, you say,
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Please, yes.
Okay.
Sorry?
so-
Your voice is a bit faint. Speak up a bit.
okay, it's as you said, bhakti yoga is easier. But if you talk to the Gnanis, they would say Gnan yoga is better. Bhakti yoga is all for illiterate, uncultured people. They will say it differently. And karma yogis would say, no, ours is best.
Yeah.
But we know because of the practice that bhakti yoga is the best. But how do we convince people who insist that the Gnan yoga is better?
Yeah, I think Prabhupada, he addresses that in the purport here in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, but yes, bhakti is, they mention they think it's easy. It's too easy. It's just for those who are sentimental. But then Prabhupada actually explains that actually the practice of bhakti is a very scientific. And it's very scientific. And those who claim that Jnana is better, they are unable to follow the principles of bhakti. Although they claim it is very easy, but it's been seen that they are unable to actually follow the path. Yeah. I can't remember. Yes, Nimai Mata.
I was thinking, bhakti is having a relationship. So having a relationship is not really easy. And so they think it is.
Your voice is fading out, Mother. We can't hear you, I'm afraid.
They really don't know about
No, you've gone through the tube. Going for the
Can't
truth.
hear
Now,
you.
Because other things
1 second.
we, we don't need to have a relationship.
We'll have to, someone can. But I'm afraid that we can't hear you. And we're very sorry that we can't hear you.
To my understanding.
She can't hear you.
She
Looks
can't hear
like.
us.
Yeah, because she's not listening.
All right, let's just get back to Bhagavad Kishore's question for now. Now, I'm just bhakti. How can we convince them that bhakti is superior? That's the question you're asking. She's still trying to communicate.
Send her a text.
Yeah. Can someone send her a text message? I'm just looking up something here. Now, I have this on a file, but it may take me too long to pull it up so you can see. Now, yoga, it has certain characteristics. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, and let's say Astanga yoga. They all have particular characteristics. So, for instance, they all have work, or there's knowledge, there's renunciation, there's meditation, and there's devotion. You follow? This might be. So in karma yoga, work is the main feature. Okay? Karma yoga. Knowledge, there's a certain degree of knowledge because their work is directed by Sastra. Yeah? They work according to Veda. Yeah? Especially they may be engaged in karma kanda, sacrifices. Now they understand that Vishnu is the beneficiary. Yeah. So renunciation in a karma yoga, how's their renunciation in karma yoga? I can say because they're willing to give, to share the results of their work.
The results.
So some renunciation is there, but it's only partial. They keep most for themselves because they're attached, Meditation, well, it describes it's mainly they're meditating on the fruits of their work. Yeah. Karma yoga. Devotion, to some degree, because they're offering results to Krishna, so there's a sense of devotion. But that's more out of duty. And they're offering it to Krishna because they want to succeed in their work. So it's not really devotion. But because there's an offering there is some level of devotion. Yeah? So that's karma yoga. Now, jnana yoga, work very little because they're engaged in solitude, study, Knowledge. Now, there's more knowledge than the karma yogi. But generally, their knowledge, as we mentioned, is to be absorbed in so-called oneness, Brahman. Yeah. And renunciation, because they have knowledge, they tend to be more renounced than a karma yogi. You follow? Yeah. Meditation is more than a karma yogi, but their meditation, but here, they're trying to understand the self, but it's kind of minimal. And devotion, they have less devotion than the karma yogi, the jnana yogi. Because the jnana yogi is not making any offerings to Vishnu. You follow? But the karma yogi is. And then now the Astanga, someone is practicing the Astanga. We just read this chapter, Astanga. Their work, same, it's limited because they rather be in seclusion. Knowledge increased than that of a Jnani, because there's awareness of Vishnu. Hang on to this if it is a bit technical. It is what. And renunciation may be equal to a Jnani, but more in purpose, since the yogi has renounced the concept of oneness to observe the supersoul. So this is the Astanga yogi. They're observing the supersoul. Meditation greatly increased because his entire sadhana is meditation. Yeah, the whole devotion more than again in a kami, as one offers oneself to the Lord in trance. You understand? Now, in answer to your question, Maharaj Kishore, you can explain this to them. And then you come to bhakti. Okay, bhakti. What about work? Fully engaged in performing any work for the Lord. A devotee may be more active than a kami, but the quality of his work is always superior. Knowledge, full knowledge of Krishna through revelation. What about renunciation? Complete inability to engage everything in the Lord's service. Meditation. In all activities, always working for Krishna in full absorption of him. One is on the platform of samadhi. Devotion. Complete in that the only motivation for service is the pleasure of the Lord. Bhakti Yoga Ki.
Thank you very much. That was very nice, very sweet.
Yes, so you can. Bhakti Yoga contains all the elements of the other yoga systems in perfection and in fullness. And all other yoga systems are meant to bring one to bhakti. So that's why I was highlighting this in the purple here. Karma, Jnana, and here, karma and Jnana is mentioned here. The idea that they should lead to bhakti. So therefore, bhakti is the highest. Any other questions on this? And that will be shown in the penultimate verse of this chapter, which is next. Yeah, did that answer the question about Raj Kishore? You had another?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I know now how to explain. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, you could just explain, yeah, but bhakti contains all the elements of Gyan to the fullest extent.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
And
Thank you.
Bhagavad Gita explains that the best of all Gyan is, you can quote Bhagavad Gita, Pahanam Janamanan Ante Gyanavan Mampapatate
Prapadyante.
Vasudev Samadmit Hitmi Samahat
Mahatma Sudurlabha.
Sadurlabha. Yeah. So
Thank
the
you.
perfection of Gyan is to realize Vasudeva Savam Iti. That is the perfection. I guess it depends who you're speaking to. It can bring up different elements. Did I hear?
Prabhu, can I say?
Yeah, we can try.
one
I'm
more.
afraid we didn't
I
hear
was
you
saying-
much last time.
I know, Prabhu, I don't know what is wrong here. Prabhu, I was thinking, to have the relationship, we should have everything. So we should know, we should have jnana, we should know about him, we should know who he is. So it's like if you do bhakti, it's all there. And also there is a
Yeah, you just
relationship to have.
Yeah, everything's there, as we just said, as we just made that correlation, the different elements of yoga. Everything is there in full in the bhakti.
Yeah. And also, I want to ask you a question, Prabhu.
Please, yeah.
The day when I was coming out of the temple, there was one devotee who comes for doing services. He's talking about spiritual healing.
Spiritual
Healing.
healing.
And
Okay.
yeah, spiritual healing. So I do not know. I was just listening for a minute and I thought, no, I don't want to be. I'm going out anyway. How are we going to where do they stand? They are only thinking about spiritual healing with Krishna. So that means they are only thinking about the body, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, you might have heard just part of a conversation, but let's just take it from that. Yeah. Ultimately, yeah, there's there's different reasons why one approaches Krishna. And it may be for the regulation and for the well-being of one's physical self. So obviously that's not what you could say pure bhakti. But at least they're coming. That's the thing. At least they're coming.
Yeah.
People will come. Often people come with all types of motivations to a temple or to approach a devotee for all types of reasons, But somehow or another, we should want to engage them in Krishna's service. We should want to engage them in the activities of bhakti, by which they can become purified. But but we are into the ultimate healing, which is to be healed of our conditioning, and becoming situated as loving servants of the Lord. So in that sense, this is the best spiritual healing. Yeah. All right, let's read text 47, because this is kind of emphasizing this point here. Someone would like the long purple here, a few pages.
Well, we could break the purport and...
Yeah, could break the purport. Perhaps I'll have a read a little bit as well. Okay. Yoginam apishavesham matkatenta atmanaha shadavam bhajate yomam shame yuktatamotmataha. Okay, and of all yogis. So the yogis has been, the yogis has been understood to be the best, better than the karmi, better than the fruitive worker, better than the jnani. But is a yogi, and of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So, Maharaj Kishore, you could quote this verse as well. Okay? You can tell them, do you know Bhagavad Gita? Go to chapter 6, text 47. And Krishna gives his opinion. Yeah. Purple. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can worship a respectable man or a demigod and may be called one can avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous. But one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam 11.5.3 confirms this as follows: Yat esham purusham shat atma pabhavam ishvaraham nabhajanti avarananti stana prashta patanti hatha. Anyone who does not render service or neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. Okay, let's just... Any questions about this? Do we understand it? It's interesting how Prabhupada starts his purport. It doesn't seem to be related directly to the verse, but it is. Prabhupada speaking about the results of not worshipping. Now, the reason I'm asking and stopping here, because sometimes because I don't quite understand this. If one could help me understand it a bit more. The word bhajate is, the word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect or honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Prabhupada is saying that worship can only apply to a Krishna, actually. Is that
Is
what
it
he's saying?
possible that bhaja means whether we are successful or not, whatever positive or negative is received, we still carry on worshipping. That is bhaja, bhajante.
Okay.
In all circumstances. Whereas if we are worshipping a man or someone, a goddess, we only do it until we get something. But with bhajate,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, there is no intention of getting anything. We're
Right.
just giving.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's so bhajate, yeah. Worship means to adore, to show respect. But bhaj, yeah, it's a different context. Bhaj means to be dedicated in devotion. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes more sense. And then Prabhupada speaks about the results of not engage or not engage in the activity or not engage in devotional service, which is quite, falls down from his constitutional position. Yeah. So this verse from the 11th canto, there's a verse that comes before it that describes the different varnas and ashrams and how they're all created from Krishna. So therefore, everyone in any varna and ashram, they are duty bound to offer worship, to offer respect and worship to Supreme Lord. And then this verse comes. And one who neglects his duty will fall down from their constitutional position. Yeah. So there's consequences. Yeah. Yeah. So we see that society generally is besieged with Adi-Bhautic and Adi-Devic and Adhyatmic miseries that we see throughout the world. So many diseases, so many catastrophes, so many wars, etc., etc. Yeah, and generally we see that people, especially those who do not have any religious practice, we can see that a great many people in society are becoming more and more degraded, isn't it? Becoming more and more fallen, because it can become more and more degraded in their sinful activities because they've fallen, because they've neglected to worship. So therefore, they fall down. Yeah. Then eventually, as Krishna says in the he was in the 16th chapter, isn't it? Divine and demonic natures. So as they fall down as abominable species of life. But any questions on that, on this first part? Okay, let's read the next. In this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word avajananti used in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is also found in the Bhagavad Gita, avajananti mam mutta. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. All right? Any questions about that or comments? Avajanti mam bhuta manasantan masutam param bhavam jananta mama. How does it? Avajanti mam bhuta manasantan masutam param bhavam jananta. You don't know that verse from Bhagavad Gita? No, it begins. Namam tuskritana mutta papajanti naradamaha. Avajanti mam bhuta is the last line. 7th chapter.
Say the first one, first line.
I'll try to-
Avajanati Mamuta. That's the,
I'm going to look for it. Namam Tuskritano Mutta Papajanti Naradamaha. Like 7. Sorry, I got to find it here. Remind myself of this verse. Prabhupada quotes it again and again and again. So many times. Namam Tuskritano Mutta Papajanti Naradamaha Maya Putahgana Asadam Bhavam Ashrataha Avajananti Mamputa Manasantana Masutam. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Different verse. All right. Would someone else like to read some of this purple? I don't know, hog the whole thing for myself. I can read from here.
I can read a bit.
Yeah. You can perhaps read a paragraph and then we'll take it from there.
Where are we?
If you look
you
on
read?
screen,
Yes. Yeah, you read. Oh, I'm looking not. Okay, I'm looking at the book. Okay. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practice lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of Bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progression towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma Yoga, without fruitive result, is the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation on the Supersoul by different physical processes and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Person of God, Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga.
that's the point we were just making in answer to Mother Rajkishore's question. Yeah, different hierarchy. And all yogas are meant to lead to Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, so Prabhupada's mentioning that here. Yeah.
And then all these things are contained in Bhakti Yoga. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Remember we mentioned that and we broke it down. Knowledge, devotion, work. It's all contained in full in the Bhakti.
I always connect it like, when we were doing, I don't know which book we were doing, and different levels of devotees. So the Bhakti Chintamani, I don't know.
Yeah,
But when, say, one comes to Madhurya Ras, all the other rasis are in there. So now just learning that bit, I try and connect that kind of thinking in all these other things that come up.
Yeah, that's a good way. So like everything is contained
in the topmost rasa.
Yeah, that's a transcendental way to look at it. Yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, that's also the elements earth, water, fire, air, and ether work in that way as well.
Yeah.
Each one is contained within the other one, ascending. So, yes. Thank you. Very nicely remembered. Yeah. Right, you can continue this. Did you finish this paragraph? Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep forgetting where I finish off.
Yeah.
Okay. To the.
Just go from here. Factually, Bhakti Yoga.
Okay, I read from your sheet. Okay, where are you?
Yeah. Factually.
factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountain, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyamasundara, who is an as beautiful colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded, illuminating all sides of his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. He incarnates in different forms such as Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulence and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This state of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga, as is confirmed in all Vedic literature. The slok. I'm going to skip that.
Yashateva prapakti yatha devi tata guru tasyate kadhiyata pakasyanti mahatmanaha.
Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. See, Tasvara Upanishad 623. Bhakti Ashya Bhajanam Tad. I can't read. Sorry.
Just read the translation.
Yes, bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclination, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naishkarmya. These are some of the means by performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of yoga system.
Yoga system. All right, that's in the Bhaktivedanta purport. So the 6th chapter, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the matter of dhyana yoga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. All right, so I just ask any particular reflections on this particular purport for you. What is it that stood out?
Well, the bhakti yoga is the topmost yoga, and everything's contained in it.
Yes, that's
and to come to that point, like Prabhupada is saying, that we've done everything else. We've come to the topmost yoga practice.
Yeah. Anybody else? Something strike you about this purport? Something you took note of?
It appears that in previous lives we have performed karma yoga and then gone to jnana yoga, and in this life we already surpassed all them. That's the reason we have arrived at a stage where Prabhupada says, chant Hare Krishna, and we've taken it.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Also, we described before as well, that also may be the causeless mercy of the parampara, that even though we may lack qualification, by the association of devotees and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we've
Yes.
been offered the highest benediction.
But
Yeah.
we've been able to take it. We've been able to accept it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, you could say that because Yesham Dvantakatam Papam Jananam Punyakamanam, as we quoted earlier on. But still, even if someone has not practiced in the previous life, by the power of the association of a devotee, then they may also take up the process and become purified, even in one life. So it's understood that generally we will take it up from practice in the previous life. But still, the process is so powerful. And I like this beautiful description of Krishna that Prabhupada describes. Yeah. So this is, yeah, this description is very, very here. Also, it's mentioned, Ramanuja actually mentions it in his commentary, that this to actually go through all the different stages of yoga, dhyana, and meditation, and have revelation of the Supreme Person himself. That's the highest attainment that is possible. Yeah. And especially, as Prabhupada highlights here, as Krishna being the son of Mother Yasoda, who is known as Krishna. Even amongst devotees of Vishnu, or even amongst devotees, those devotees who are acting in this relationship with Krishna or appreciating this nature of Krishna himself, the personality, they're considered to be the most fortunate of all. That's gonna any other comments or questions here about this last verse of chapter 6? Now I just want to read this section. Please, you can just, anything you want to add, please do. But here this is from Ramanuja. This is a point I'm making, and Prabhupada relates to this purport by this commentary by Ramanuja. Yeah. In comparison with this special yogi, all other yogis being inferior can be grouped into a single class. The comparison between that special yogi and the single class of all the other yogis is like designating the special yogi as the Himalayas and all others as a handful of mustard seeds. Yeah. Prabhupada said here, therefore, Prabhupada, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as we speak of the Himalayas, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered the culmination. So that's as Prabhupada is referring to Ramanuja, we can say here. But the difference between the seeds cannot be compared to the difference between the seeds and the Himalayas. So the other yogis are compared to mustard seeds, whereas the bhakti yogi is compared to Mount Everest. This is Krishna's estimation. In the word atmana is the word manas, meaning giving one's heart, mind, body, and soul in devotion, overflowing with love for the Supreme Lord. This dedication is extraordinary and glorifies and distinguishes one from all other yogis. So if we remember that we've been speaking about different yogis, but we haven't been, and about their jhana and about their meditation, but we haven't spoke much of love, of over here described that this yogi, they're overflowing with love and affection for God. They are the highest. Yeah.
Yeah, because jnanis and they are just meditating, right?
Yeah, there's
Where bhakti
meditation.
yoga is-
Yeah.
yeah,
to make-
where bhakti there is feeling, there's like, loving exchange,
yeah, especially to Krishna.
Personal.
Yeah. Yes. And let's read this last bit here. Just hit 7. Let me just read this last section here. Anta Atmana equates to the innermost manas, being Atma, which monitors. Okay. So overpowered by love of God, this special yogi is unable to even maintain his very existence without the assistance of the Supreme Lord. In this way, he is always in a pact of love with the Supreme Lord. Okay. Bhakti Yoga Ki Jai. Right. So let's stop there. Then tomorrow we can go into chapter 7. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us for this last part of chapter 6, and please join us tomorrow, and we're going to chapter 7, which is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. Wonderful chapter. Okay. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.
Ki Jai.
Krishna.
Krishna